Right, in this video, we're basically done now with the login activity, and from the login screen, we will arrive at our main activity. So let's start coding from the main activity. And what we want to look at first is how to create a new contact, and then also see a list of all the contacts currently in our database. So remember that this is a contacts application, and we want to see a list of contacts. So the first thing we'll need to do is to be able to create new contacts. So I'm going to create a new. You can just go to new activity, and we're going to create an empty activity. And I'm going to call this activity new contact. And we're going to say finish. We will also create another activity. So go to new activity again and use an empty activity. And we're going to create an activity called contact list. That will be a list of all my contacts. So for now, let's just set up or see if we can set up these components. So we've got new contact, which is a new activity that was created, and we've got contact list, which is a new activity that we created now. So from the main activity, we'll have a few buttons here that we're going to set up. So let's open up the main activity XML, go into the text at the bottom, text tab, and let's remove this constraint layout and make it a linear layout. And I'm going to set the orientation to vertical. I'm going to remove this text view there. And then let's set the background property there as the color primary light. So we have the light color back at the back again. Let me just remove this. Okay, so now we have a blank application to start with. So this will be our main page. Now you can put a nice picture here or whatever you want. For me, this video is this whole application is all about functionality. So let's look at just adding a few buttons here. So I'm going to add 2 buttons on the screen. So we're going to have 2 buttons there. On both of them, let's zoom in a bit. On both of these buttons, you can click or select both of them. And I'm going to have a left margin of 20. I'll have a right margin of 20 and a top margin of, let's say, 20 as well. Now for this button, let's take it a bit more from the top. Let's make it 50. Let's say we'll have something like this for this button's top margin. Let's make it 10. Okay, so let's say this will be my screen where I get to my application. And then now for this, remember that we had in our drawable, we have a buttons XML. So I'm going to use that as the background property. So go to the background property on both of the buttons and set it to buttons, drawable buttons. Right, so we have those 2 buttons. The first button's text will be list of contacts, and this button there will be create contact. So we'll get to from the main screen, we'll basically just see the list, click on to see the list of all the contacts, and then we'll be able to create a new contact. So if I go down to the bottom, I'm going to set that to bold. Let's select both of them. Where is it now? I'm going to set them both to bold. Then go down again, set the color to hash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Fs, and then that is the buttons. So we've got list of contacts and create contact. Now for this list of contact, let's set up the button, the BTN, the ID there. So I'm going to say BTN list, and this one will be BTN create. So we have 2 buttons. One that will take me to the list of all the contacts, which will be contact list, and this one will take me to new contact, to create a new contact. So let's set up these 2 components in the main activity quickly. So this one is called BTN list, that one is called BTN create. So we're going to say button, BTN list, BTN create. Then let's set up these buttons. So it's going to be BTN list equals find the view by its ID. And then the same for BTN create. We're going to, first find the view by its ID, r.id.btn create. Right, so we have both of the buttons linked up. So we're going to say BTN list dot set the on-click listener. And for BTN create, we will also say set the on-click listener as new on-click listener. Okay, so what we want to do then if we move from BTN list, when we click on BTN list, we want to go to contact list, this activity. So we're just going to say start activity, and on that activity we'll say new intent. We are currently in the main activity, so the context is main activity.this, and then the second argument will be where we want to go. So in this case we want to go, this is BTN list, so we're going to go to contact list. So it's contact list.class. Okay, so we'll do exactly the same line. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it here, and instead of saying contact list.class, when we click on BTN create, we will go to new contact.class. Right, and that's basically it for the main activity. So the main activity will basically show two buttons there. You can add a nice picture there at the top or whatever you want to do there. If we click on list of contacts, it will go to contact list. If we click on create contact, it will go to new contact. Okay, so just to make sure that everything is fine and is running, let's see if we can run that on the virtual device. So this is where we left off the last time. We will go to the main activity, which is this one. That should now have two buttons. Right, so the application is launching, it's logging us in automatically, and then we will arrive at the main activity. List of contacts will go to the list of contacts, or the contact list activity. Create contact will go to create contact. Okay, so let's go and set up the layout files for these two. So let's go to create new contact first. Right, so for the new contact, we want to basically ask the user a few questions here to create a new contact, and we'll basically just ask what's the name, what's the number, and what is the email address of a new contact that we want to add. Then as soon as we click on create a new contact, we want to have that progress bar shown again. So I just want to remind you again of the website, this one there, bit.ly, backend training will take you to this website, or just type that and you can go and open up progress bar example. So download that Word document again, that's the one I'm opening up now. And you'll see there's the layout file, so I'm going to copy that whole layout again so that we don't need to retype this the whole time. I'm going to go back to Android Studio, into the text part, remove everything of the new contact XML file, and I'm going to paste my coding there. Just remember to remove that part, because that's where our layout will come. Right, and then for this layout, I'm going to set the background as primary light. So if you go back to design, you'll see basically a clear background, but you can see that these two components are on your layout and we will use them later on. So now let's drag in a few components. We want to go to a few edit texts. So I'm going to ask the user to enter his name. So I'm going to use a plain text one. I'm going to drag it into that login form. So that's the plain text one. Then I want to have a telephone number. So I'm going to drag in the phone one directly after it. And then I'll have an email. So we drag in the email one just after that one. Now you can see there's the three edit texts. I'm going to click on all three of them, or select all three of them. You can do them individually as well. And I'm going to set the margins on the left to 20, the right 20, and maybe the top 10. Now for this one, I'm going to make the top a bit bigger. So let's make it 20 to move it down a bit, even more. Let's make it 30. Right, now for this one, there's text in it. So we're going to remove the text, and then we're going to go down to the hint properties. So we go down to hint, and the hint for the first one will be please enter contact name. Just use the escape button on your keyboard to take away the autocomplete, and then you can click enter. Please enter contact name. The hint for this one will be please enter contact number. And the one for that one will be please enter contact email. Then we're going to select all three of them again and make sure that we set the gravity property to be center horizontal. Right, then the next component that we'll add to the screen will be a button. So let's just add it there at the bottom so it gets after those three edit text. Click on the button and let's make the margin on the left 20, on the right 20, and let's have a top margin of 30 to move it a bit down. Now on that button also, let's go to the background property and use that buttons XML again. So we're going to go to drawable buttons so that our buttons all look the same. We will go down and set the text style to bold, and the text color to #123456. Right, so there we have the button, and on the button, the text that we can have on the button will be create new contact. Right, so this is then basically the layout for our new contact. So let's give them IDs. This one I will name ET name. This one I will name ET, let's call it number. And this one will be ET mail. Right, and then for the button, that one will be BTN, let's say new contact. BTN new contact. So we've got ET name, ET number, ET mail, and BTN new contact. So for these components, let's just quickly go now to that activity. I'm going to close down the main activity now that we have some space here at the top, and we're going to go to new contact. Now in new contact, let's set up those components quickly. So we've got one button, which we'll call, what did I call it now? BTN new contact. BTN new contact. Then we'll have the three edit texts, ET name, ET number, and ET mail. ET name, ET number, and ET mail. ET mail. Okay, so there's the components, and we'll quickly set them up in coding. So we're going to say ET name equals find the view by its ID, and it's going to be ET name. Then also ET number will be find the view by its ID, r.id.et number. And then also ET mail will be find the view by its ID, r.id.ed ET mail. Okay, so there's all the components except for the button. So let's set the button also, and that will be find the view by its ID, r.id.btn new contact. Okay, so now for the button, we're going to say btn new contact.set on click listener, new on click listener, and this is what will happen when we click the button. So I'm going to leave it there. We'll do this in another video. So for this video, we'll just set up all the layout files. Now remember that we said that this one has the login progress and TV load. So there's a few things that we need to set up in new contact as well. So go to that Word document again, and we go down where we copied, and this must come in the activity. So I'm going to copy that, go back to Android Studio, and paste it there inside of your new contact activity. Alt-Enter if there's an import that's needed. Okay, so now the next part, let's go to the Word document again. We'll be setting it up by the find view by ID. So let's do it here. Right, so that part is done. And then the last part is just the method that we take from there until the bottom and we copy it. So now that part there, just paste it. Okay, so there's just a few Alt-Enters that we need to do. Alt-Enter for the import. That one is imported, import, import, and then we should be done. Okay, so for this class new contact, then we are fine. We've got the layout done. We've got the whole activity. Everything is linked up. So in the next video, we can come back and we can start coding to create a new contact. Okay, so new contact is done. We are fine with new contact. Let's go to contact list now. So in contact list also, we want to show the progress here for the user. So what we can do then is to go back to that Word document again. Have the same layout there. Copy it. Go back into text. And let's have that same layout there. I'm going to remove that part. And then also I'm going to set the background property to primary light. Okay, so that's the layout for it. Now you can see that we've got login progress and TV load there. So now for the rest of what we want to do here is to basically just show at the top, this is the list of all the contacts, and then we have a list view there. So let's have a text view, which we drag into the screen. Let's drag it into that login form. All right, let's zoom in a bit. Now for this text view, let's make the text size a bit bigger. I'm going to have it bold, and then the size, let's make it 36 is too much, so let's make it 24. Okay, then that one also, let's move it to the middle of the screen. So we're going to set the gravity to center horizontal. That's fine. and then we will set the margins, not the margin, yeah, the margin at the top. Let's set it to 15 or maybe 10. Then the text property, we can say contacts or list of contacts or whatever you want to have there. So that's basically the heading for this specific activity called contact list. Now underneath that, we want to go to legacy and drag in a list view. So make sure it's underneath that text view, and that's our list view. Okay, and that's basically all we need here. So I'm going to go there and call this one T or LV list, and that's our list view. So just to quickly connect it in coding, for this one, I'm going to set a margin at the bottom to be 10 as well, just to move your list a bit down. Okay, so that's basically it for this activity. So we have that one as LV list. Let's go to contact list and set up that list view. And we call it LV list. Also in this part, LV list equals find the view by its ID, r.id.lv list. Right, so let's do the last part there. We had it in new contact. So I'm just going to copy for the progress bar what we need for the progress bar. So I'm going to copy this part and paste it into my activity, and it adds the import statements for me. Go to this one and take that part also, or you can go and take it from the Word document again. And then the last thing was the method. So the nice thing now is if you copy this whole method, it takes all the import statements with it. Right, we're done. Okay, so we've got two new activities that we created. A new contact, which will come and code inside of this on-click listener, and the contact list will be a list view where we'll set all of our data from backenders. So if we run this application now, there should not be any errors, but nothing will really work. So let's look at the emulator and see how our app works now. Right, so it's loading the credentials, logging you in, please wait. And then let's see, we've got a list of contacts and create new contacts. So let's click on list of contacts. You can see there's nothing in our list view yet, so we won't see the list view, but we can see the heading. And if we go to create contact, we'll see everything that we need for create contact. Right, so this is it for this video. On the next video, we'll see how we can add a new contact to backenders.